Hi everyone, I hope you're having a good day today. We are going to quickly review assembly and hand position, and then I know everyone wants to get to the good part, which is making a sound on flute. I'm going to move pretty quickly on assembly and hand position today. If you need to pause the video or return to the previous video at any time, you should feel welcome to do so. So remember, first we grab the head joint. We attach it to the body. Twist, 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 twist. Go ahead and get your alignment correct. Remember, the hole goes in line with the first key and the long row of keys. Grab your foot joint. Again, remember to touch as few keys as possible. Attach to the other end with a twisting motion. And remember, the bar on the foot joint lines up with the middle of the last body key. All right, here we go. Time to do a hand position. See what we remembered from the previous lesson. Hold the flute with your left hand in a way so that you won't drop it. With your right hand, place your pinky. Then place the next three fingers. Remember, the pinky goes on the first foot joint key, and the next three fingers go on the next three round keys. Remember, your flute might look different from mine. This is an open hole and you might have a closed hole. And remember that your thumb goes on the smushy part between your middle and pointer fingers. You could be here or you could be here, but please don't be here or here. I will try to remind that of you as often as I can. Left hand, first of all, make sure you've got a good grip with that right hand. Left hand, I will turn around so we can remember the thumb keys we are going to use in that cluster of keys. The one furthest to the right, which is also the paddle-shaped key. Your pointer finger is going to go on the second key. Remember, we always skip the first key. We don't ever put our finger on that one. Pointer finger on the second key, skip the third key, go to the fourth key, and the ring finger goes on the fifth key, and then the pinky goes on the key that sticks out. That is called the A flat key, and we will talk about that later. So here is what your hand position should look like. I'll show you a back view. And remember, the key component for being able to balance your flute is to be in the saddle on the side of your index finger, which we talked about in the last lesson. Once you are secure in your hand position and still keeping your fingers closed on the keys, we're going to bring the flute so that the lip plate rests between the lips and the chin, right here. And remember, your chin acts as a shelf, so let it kind of sit there nice and firmly. And then once you've got the hand position, let's go ahead and put your flute down safely. Remember, on a table is the best bet. And we are now going to work on making your first sounds. Yay, we got to this point, hooray. So take your head joint off. And this is what we're going to use to make the first sounds. I will give you a minute to go ahead and remove your head joint and make sure your flute is resting safely with the keys facing up. All right, here we go. Time to try to make a first sound on the flute. Now you might wonder why I'm holding a water bottle, and that is because the principle of making a sound on the flute is basically the same as blowing across a water bottle or soda bottle. Don't know if you've ever done that. But if you have, it's the same idea. With a bottle, we blow across this part and we make that funny sound. And with the flute, we blow across this tiny hole. It's the same concept, but that is how we make a sound on the flute. When we blow across this hole, some of the air goes down into the flute, but some of the air goes across. So how do we do this? I'm going to show you two different ways. This is called, the first part is called the fingernail method. Please right now hold your head joint in with two hands. Make sure you've got a firm grip. And then with your right hand, take your pointer finger nail, put it in the center of your lower lip and sort of press in right there and see if you can feel the ridge between your lip and your skin. Make sure you can really feel what I'm talking about. The reason we use your pointer finger is it's approximately the same size as the hole. So again, right here in the center. Okay, now the next trick is we are going to put the edge of the head joint hole on that spot where your fingernail just was. Now please remember, looking at a video, we are opposites. Your flute will always, the open end will always go to the right, and for me it's going to look like left. So here we go. We're going to put that head joint hole on the edge. You should press it in to that area between your lip and your chin. It should feel pretty secure. In fact, a good test would be to press it in and then have someone in your family gently try to pull it away from you. And if they can pull it away from you, it means you've got too loose a position, and we're gonna make sure it's a little firmer so that they can't take it from you. That's your position. Now, as far as making a sound, the less hard you work, the better with your mouth position. If I ever say the word embouchure, that's the same as mouth position. So right now, put your finger right here and say the word who. Come a little closer. Who. One more time. Who. That is basically what we're going to do for the flute, except without our voice. So now put your finger here again and say who without your voice. One more time. That's the first step. Now, another way you can achieve the proper embouchure is by pretending you're blowing on a bowl of soup or a cup of tea or coffee that's too hot. So let's pretend we've got a bowl of soup right here and we're going to blow on it to cool it down. And if you can feel the air on your hand, that's even better. One more time. So that is the first step, and that is that we are saying who on the flute without our voice. Put your head joint up to that same place your fingernail was. I'm going to come in nice and close so you can see. Your lower lip should cover 1/3 to 1/4 of the hole. So about that much. Now this is where it gets hard to see. And you may want to go into the bathroom or somewhere where you've got a mirror so that you can see your lip covering about 1/3 or 1/4 of the hole. When you think you've got it in position, we are going to blow across that hole. So if you are using a phone or a laptop or iPad, make sure it's straight in front of you, and I want you to blow straight at me, right at the picture. And here's our first sound. Making sure you got a good grip. Deep breath. Now notice my lips still have that who shape. They did not change. I'm going to come closer again. I'm going to do it one more time. Now if you're not having luck that way, you can try another way. You can cover the end gently. Remember, don't make that popping sound. And we can put it back and try to make another sound. This one's going to be lower. One more. So let's review what we've talked about so far. If you haven't made an initial sound yet, it's okay. We're going to do a lot of review. The first thing to remember is that your lips should be in a who shape. Notice that I didn't say oh, and I also didn't compress my lips. I didn't go ooh like that. Just a nice and easy who. So if you are having trouble, one of the first things to check, we're going to go backwards on this list. We're going to make sure that your hole, the head joint hole, is centered on your lip. If it's a little off center, you're probably not going to get much of a sound. So this is where you might want a mirror. Remember, we're going to go with the fingernail method. I'm putting the hole right there, exactly in the center, and then blowing. And then bingo, there's my sound. And if you'll notice, the sound that you make, it may be a little funny. It sounds like a little bit like a train whistle. You're gonna sound better, promise, once we get used to this and we put the whole flute together. So the next thing to consider, notice I said smooth lips. We do not want to have wrinkled lips. I may have a little bit of wrinkle in my lips because of my age, but hopefully you don't at this point. So I'll show you what I mean by this. Smooth lips. That's how we get the best sound. If your lips are wrinkly, it's going to be much harder to get a sound. So you can check with your finger to make sure they feel smooth. Whoo, do they feel smooth? Whoo. And then try again. And remember, if that doesn't work, try covering the end. And see if that helps. The last thing to remember, and this is going back to a basic instruction, we want to make sure that you're blowing across the hole. Many beginners feel like they need to blow into the instrument, like this. And remember, that's not what we do. We are blowing across this hole the same way we blew across that water bottle when we first started. So let's try again. Careful with your lineup. Take as much time as you need to center the head joint. Make sure it's in exactly the right spot, and then blow. Now, like anything else that involves muscles on your body, you're going to develop a muscle memory for flute. And what that means is you will get used to putting it in the right place. You will get used to how it feels, and eventually it will become second nature, and your hands will end up putting your head joint in the right place just by force of habit. But it does take practice. It doesn't happen immediately. So practice this stage as many times as you can stand, making a sound, take it away, put it up again, find the position, and blow. Take it away and keep doing that. Now, something else to think about if you're not getting a sound right away. We've already talked about making sure the flute is centered. We also want to make sure you're covering the right amount. So in order to tell whether or not you are covering 1/4 to 1/3 of the hole, first of all, look in the mirror. But second of all, I want you to experiment with rolling in and rolling out. So once you position your flute, if you can see the entire hole, and if you can see this edge, that means you are rolled out too far. And when I say rolled out, that means the flute is rolled away from your face. So we want to roll it in towards you until you can feel that edge on your lip. You might also be having the opposite problem. You might be covering too much hole, which might look like this. So if you can't see this hole at all in the mirror, it means your lip is covering too much. And so you're going to roll out until you can just feel that edge one more time. So that is called rolling in and rolling out. And I want you to experiment with different rolling in and out positions, and also making sure you're in the center. Now, I wanted to give you a few visuals so you can see what these principles are visually. When you are blowing, please forgive my very ugly profile head. I am not a visual artist at all. You want to make sure that the air is blowing across. You want to make sure it's going pretty much straight across. We will eventually talk about changing the angle a little bit, but not today. If you're not sure if you're blowing straight across, here is the best way to check. Put your hand in front of your mouth and move it out about 6 inches, maybe 8 inches, and blow. with your mouth in a who shape. And if you can feel the air on your hand, it means you're blowing correctly. Now keep in mind, look at my chin. My chin is parallel to the floor. I'm not going like this, and I'm not going like this. My chin is parallel, and I'm blowing straight across. So that is one way you can tell whether or not you're blowing in the correct angle. Now earlier we talked about the chin being a shelf on the flute. Depending on your profile, you might have a more prominent chin or maybe not, but either way, the flute rests right here between the chin and the lip. Take advantage of whatever kind of chin you have to make sure you're balancing the flute securely. Here's another visual for you. Now please forgive me again that I am not a visual artist. This is a rough approximation of how your lips look in relation to your flute. Now this end is the end with the crown that we talked about earlier. Here's an approximate picture of your lips and the lip plate. Notice that the lips and the lip plate are parallel to each other. If you do it this way, this is the proper way, the air comes out of the lips and blows right across that hole. And that is the position that we want. That is the desired flute position. So here's an example of something we don't want. Here's an example of a crooked embouchure. And here we are not lined up properly. And you can see if you try to blow across, the air is going to only get a little bit of that flute hole and the rest is going to miss. So if you're getting a fuzzy sound, you want to make sure that your lips don't look like this. And here's a picture of the opposite problem. This is with the flute being crooked in the other direction. Again, you'll notice that if you blow, most of your air is going to miss that hole and you're going to end up with a fuzzy sound. So this is a visualization of the importance of making sure the flute is centered on your lip. Like any new skill, playing the flute and learning the flute takes practice and patience and perseverance. So if you're struggling for some reason with making your initial sounds on the head joint, that's okay. You will get it if you keep practicing and be patient with yourself. Now we will get to putting the flute together and making your first actual notes soon. I highly encourage you not to skip these initial steps of making the sound just with the head joint. So I look forward to seeing you at the next lesson where we will review how to make a sound and I will give you more specific exercises to practice. Have a great day.